Hello, and welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs Podcast. We're on season 4, episode number 38. Today's the sports edition, Andy. It's going to be sports, college, pro. I
You
don't
name
think
it.
any amateur. It's going to be a lot of amateur,
A lot of
college,
amateur stuff, yeah.
sports. And today is the last day, July 31st, 2023. Andy, we won't bring up the bet just yet, but tomorrow, because it's August 1st, we're going to have the Twins bet status.
I could taste the beer already.
There's a 30-pack of hams on this bet for the Twins to win 92 games this season I put forward. And it's looking slim. Now, the Twins are still in first place with the half-game lead, Andy. And the Guardians are playing right now with Syndergaard, Thor taking on the Astros. So you never know what's going to happen. The trade deadline's coming up, and I'm sure you'll have more on that. But we have a special guest, Jeremy "The Rock" Quass. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Glad to be back.
Glad to be back.
So we've had The Rock on before. He's a Watertown Red Devils super fan, also a Minnesota Gophers super fan. And the reason, Andy, we wanted to invite him on the show was there's been some flack this week with Mr. PJ Fleck.
Yes, Coach.
A lot of flack with Fleck, and it just happens to rear its ugly head just before this football season kicks off. And we wanted to get his thoughts on these allegations, if you will. Andy,
my flop, first of all, it's just his turn in the rotation to get a little crap from everybody else, but that's smile baby.
Well, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Andy, do you want to give a little background on this, and we'll turn it over to Jeremy?
Basically, from what I heard and what I've read is, like with any other program, players that have been cut, players who didn't start their 4 years there, go crying to mommy and go crying to CCO or whatever, and write on Rube chat, oh yeah, I was not treated fair. Am I right? Is that basically what's happened, Jeremy? It's just those who got cut are crying?
Basically, this has been an ongoing thing since he took over the program. People just don't like how he runs it. It's a very high energy, situation that some people just aren't meant to be in. That's kind of the basic rule. I mean, I've been to his practices, whenever they have these open practices, he is the same guy at these practices with the cameras on as they're not on. So it's, he is very upfront with how he is. They always, he's even said it. He's not for everybody, right. and it's true. He's not, but yeah, my take on this is that guy who wrote it, I've never heard of him in my life. I've never heard of that website or anything. So I don't really think it's that credible, especially when you don't want to put your name on it. When you're these anonymous players or you're this anonymous staff member or whatever, whoever it is. That's just my thought. There's no bias or anything like this. Being a Gopher fan, I'll be honest, I didn't like when PJ Fleck came here to begin with. It took me a little bit to get used to him because when I thought he came here, I just thought of, it's another Tim Brewster.
Brew number 2, yep.
Yeah, so it's so like I said, it took me a while to get to him, but I love the guy. I love what he's doing with the program. He's done, they're serving and giving, like he says. They do an annual turkey drive every year for homeless people, for people just in need. These guys are out in the community, almost like pro guys that, they're not, depending on their NIL situation, they're not getting paid to go out to the children's hospitals to go do these other community events, and it's just, and the one thing I will say is if you were on Twitter or as it's called now, X, whatever you want to call it, you saw all the support for PJ Fleck and the program from current, former, and even incoming, freshmen next year are buying into this program. Whatever. And PJ Fleck addressed this at media days last week, and he wasn't shy about it. So I think this article is a bunch of BS. If you ask my opinion, that's what I got for you.
A lot of the complaints were he was tough on players after a loss or after they didn't perform on a practice. What coach isn't?
Exactly.
And that was my point. What coach isn't? The coach that isn't is the guy who's 2-12 every year. That's the coach who isn't.
Yep.
Go
ahead.
Well, I was gonna say the only thing bad about PJ that he's got to get used to is going to take a couple years' time. We start out that big, nice winning streak to start with. He's not used to being 9-0. He's not used to being in those big pressure games. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's beaten Wisconsin and beaten Michigan in the past, but not for first place. He's got to get used to that part, and then he'll be okay. Hi, Kitty.
Now, Andy, my question to you is to help the listeners along. What else has been going on here in the Big Ten the last couple of weeks? This isn't the first story.
Northwestern had their kerfuffle, D coordinator from NDSU goes down there to be D coordinator, and all of a sudden he's the interim coach. I don't even know if I think they made an official head coach for the year, meaning they're not going to toss him throughout the year. He's coach for the year.
Yep.
So Northwestern's, again, with the exception of their little run there in the 90s, they're cellar dwellers anyway. But still, poor team there. Guys transferring because of a certain coach. Now he's gone. How many guys are going to portal out of there next year? So I feel bad for that situation. Harbaugh up in Michigan. Not a fan, but still. Can't even buy a cheese. If you buy a cheeseburger for it, turn in the receipt. That's all you had to do.
Yep.
And the sad thing is something simple like that, again, kind of with Fleck making his own run laps after a bad game, they turn him in for it. Now, I think is the schedule right? So Harbaugh misses 4 games, right?
Correct.
And his first game back is against who?
Nebraska, I believe. And then the second game would be against us in Minnesota.
Right. So the streak ends. Michigan's Big Ten winning streak ends against us. I called it a couple weeks ago. There, I said it.
Harbaugh got the biggest, slap on the wrist. The first 4 games are the biggest cupcakes he could ever have.
Right. Like the Gopher last couple of years play a Big Ten team right off the bat, but still, they lose one big. They should have you at the first 4 conference games. It's kind of like in the NFL when Brady got suspended for 4 games. That was a breeze. Oh, great. He's got 4 games rested going into the playoffs. He should have been suspended for a playoff game because he cheated in the playoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's nothing there.
Now is Fleck, do you think is the target gonna stay on his back, or is there another team here in the Big Ten that it's gonna shift the focus here in the next week and get the limelight off of him, or is it gonna stay? And just like every other season, it's right before this. I haven't heard anything about Fleck until just this last week, and now
Iowa had
football season's about to start. And
Iowa had their problems last year with that strength training coach and stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's Harbaugh and Fleck this year. Wisconsin, Ohio State probably next year is their turn.
Gotcha. Now, like Fleck said, it's baseless. I've seen both sides of the stories as far as reading it, but it didn't really, cause me to lose.
No, like I said, I've never heard of that guy or that company that he works for. I've never heard of him until this story popped up. I just think it's kind of to do a story like that a couple weeks after this Northwestern thing. To me, it seemed almost like clickbait.
Yep.
That's how I felt. And I felt like if he was going to write this story, it should have been in crayon because that's how stupid it was. I could write that story too. I'm not a professional journalist by any means. And I can write that same story with anonymous sources, anonymous, whatever. That's, it is what it is. I didn't lose sleep over it. I read it. I don't understand what the point of this article is, and went on my day. So
how it got any traction really kind of surprised me too, because it was so many anonymous this, unnamed this, anonymous that. Yet the story got traction. That's what confuses me. So whoever the anonymous person is, someone had to know who it was and took a little meat on it and said, okay, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about.
It's all disgruntled players that, they came up here and they're like, oh, I'm going to start right away. And then they weren't doing the right things on and off the field, and they weren't playing. And, like you said, they basically ran home to mommy and go, this kid beat me up. I don't like it. And left. You know, it is what it is, especially now with this portal now with, you know, how that's been the last couple of years in this. You know, if you're not starting, you're not playing enough, well, I'll just transfer and go somewhere else.
Take my ball and go home.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean,
some of these, I think it was, I read who was the
one of the players that's
been there now for 6 years.
Chris Bell,
6 year, Bell. Yeah, and he says, I've been here the entire time since he got here, and I have seen nothing but a great attitude, positive attitude, a great place to work, a lot of respect, a lot of stuff going back and forth. I haven't seen any one iota of any of this going on at all, and I've been here. I mean, so it's good to see both sides of it, but it is interesting when these other things happen. You know, what gets the traction? How does it get traction? And why does it get into the page?
It's not the whole conspiracy theory thing. I'd like to see in a couple 3 years who these anonymous people were and see where they are in life or who they were on the team. Like, okay, what guy cut them out of their position? You know, did that guy go on to be in the NFL? And now you're bitter that wasn't you. I'd like to see in a couple years who these anonymous people were.
But they'll never come out.
Disgruntled people.
Yeah. What, Jeremy?
I said they'll never come out for it because I mean, if in that article they're like, "Oh, we work in football or we're still in it," it's like, well, put your name to it. I mean, you know, it is what it is. It's nothing to lose sleep over.
You work in football. You're the head of the laundry department at Northwestern. Great, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right, let's go into other stuff, Dan. If you want to pull up the screen there, Jeremy wants to stick around. We're going to talk a little town ball playoffs here.
I'll definitely stick around for 7C. So
yeah, we're gonna start with we're just gonna talk 7C and 12C is all we're gonna really touch base with here because that's ones we're mostly knowledgeable with. Here is the bracket. Oh, what's wrong? Wrong button. There is the bracket, and I'm just doing the first 2 rounds. I'm not gonna hold double elimination bracket.
Yeah, we don't need that.
For first 3, I mean 4 teams come out. First 3. Slam dunk. I have no issue thinking it's not going to be us, Watertown, Plato, and Waconia. Who do you got as the 4th one coming out, though, Jeremy? Do you think it'll be Mayor or someone else going to pull it off?
I think it's going to be Broughton, and you can't rule them out with Graham's on the mound.
Are you talking to Joey? This one guy, Joey Molnau, kid for Broughton that we met. His bracket, he's got Broughton winning the whole thing. He's got Broughton over Waconia, Broughton beating us, and Watertown. Broughton was kind of a sleeper. I like Green Owl for some reason. For some reason, I like them. Because I just see Mayor I don't know. I see Green Owl beating Mayor, and then that being enough momentum to kind of give them that first win and doing something.
Yeah, and I think, and we saw 3 lower seeds get into the regions. I mean, with Glencoe, Carver, and Brown, they were all the quote unquote away teams for their matchups and stuff. And it's going to be. I mean, my feeling is if you come out of the region going to state, you earned your spot. I mean, it's going to be a tough region.
Yeah, it's going to be fun though. The second, third rounds will be fun. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think that, this is one of the toughest regions in the state, and it's always good when these 8 teams match up because only 4 go to state and 4 go out. And historically, one of the top 4 seeds in this region always seems to lose out. There's always an upset on that very first weekend where a top 4 team, in this case, could be Watertown, Plato, Waconia, or Mayor, will lose back-to-back games and find them packing up their season and going home. That's the thing that's interesting of this tournament. It's always the pitching. Watertown's got the pitching. Waconia's got the pitching. Plato, I think, does. Mayor might. But then it really drops off.
If they want to.
It really drops off the pitching. But you never know who has that good game or who's on that night or who's not or what bats come alive. It's going to be interesting. Those first 3 games, I think, should be easy to pick with Watertown with the better record. Easily should be beating Glencoe. Carver, Plato should be beating Carver. Waconia should be beating Broughton. Now that middle game, 4 against a 5 seed, should be the best game of the first round. I would say, as far as being close, and that may be that game that pushes one of the teams, gets the momentum going. But there are 3 teams, like Jeremy said, 3 teams in this tournament that have lower than 500 conference win-loss records.
Yep.
They're under 500.
All right,
yeah, this will be fun stuff.
We're familiar with some of these teams. Delano, I think, is kind of a slam dunk to walk through this. But, Loretto could make some noise. Hutch could make some noise, I think. I can't remember. Did they have 3 teams come out of here, I believe? Or is it 4?
4.
4? So I think the top 4 are going to come out of here. I don't see a lot of upsets. It's just maybe it does. I think Delano's going to beat Loretto, but it's not going to be as easy as you think. And maybe Hutch beats Maple Lake, but still, I think 1, 2, 3, 4 are advancing on out of 12C.
The one game to watch here. Oh,
yeah.
Now,
game to watch is definitely Hutch and Litchfield, and the reason I say that is my nephew is a big Hutch fan.
Okay.
They faced Litchfield twice and lost twice.
Okay.
That Avery Listman pretty much went, I think, the distance in both games and shut him out.
Oh wow!
So that'll be interesting. I think that's one matchup to watch. I think if Listman pitches for Litchfield, and then I think Hutch's best guy is DeRock pitching. Maybe I'm not sure. Like I said, that'd be more my nephew, but that would be an interesting game to watch where Litchfield could possibly upset Hutch there.
Yeah, but kind of like in the NFL, you don't beat him that 3rd time in the playoffs, though.
That's true, but I mean, good pitching usually wins better.
Now,
So
Loretto's got the Koski brothers, Corey and the 2 sons, but one of the sons is still playing in the Northwoods League, and I don't think he's going to be back yet until maybe mid-August. So I don't even know if he's going to be around for the first opening weekend here until he comes back. So, but then when they do come back, there's a bunch of guys, I think, that are in that Northwoods League that will be coming back to join teams in both the Class A, B, and C for the state tournament. But boy, Hutch is always tough. Delano, Buffalo is always interesting, and you never know.
The thing too with Hutch or with Delano too is they lost their first game last year too as well. So
yep, I remember that. Yeah,
and they still got the number 1 seed out of that region because they do it a little different in 12C than 7C. But yeah, that was interesting. So
all right, talk about the elephant in the room here, the Mets. My team, my boys.
Yeah, you're a great team,
the Mets.
Yeah, hey.
I see they keep trading everybody.
Well, that's what we're talking about. They got rid of Max. They traded him for
keep it civil here. Oh, look at this.
Ronald's little brother from the Rangers. He was a top 3 prospect.
Acuna.
The Mets are paying most of Scherzer's contract. He's still getting paid from the Nationals. Now he's getting paid from the Rangers. Well, good contract negotiation on his part. But we got Ronald's little brother, Louis, here coming in. Of course, Ronald Okoye has been saying all the great things about his brother. Oh, he's more advanced than I am. He's better than I was at that age. Shut up. Quit blowing smoke. But we'll see. The Mets are getting all these middle infielders. They traded Peterson, closer, the other day. And earlier today, here's what the Mets, with the thing. Nationals, $15 million. Mets, $28 million. Rangers, $15 million. And Thursday, he's going to start. So we'll see. But earlier today, Marcana got traded to the Brewers. The rise and fall has begun. Let's start clearing out things. Verlander got his 250th win the other day. He might not make the end of the week. Like I've said before, I would be surprised if Alonso's gone soon too. So the fun has begun, which brings me to my soapbox. I kind of wish, I kind of have the trade deadline right now. I wish, since they're taking 4 days off for the All-Star break, have that last day be the trade deadline, where no one's playing. You concentrate on just all the trades and not guys leaving games and after a game flight back and forth. That 4th day when they're all sitting at home, kind of like a draft in a way, they're sweating out if they're getting traded or not. And kind of takes away because you're losing a lot of limelight here, baseball, because of NFL starting up. So you want to have the trade deadline before that Hall of Fame game, which they're doing. I think they did it All-Star weekend because that fourth day off for travel and rest, you lose a little momentum. So if you kept all the trade talk that day, I think that would help. That's just my letter to the commissioner.
That's fair enough. I like it.
The stat of the week. 80s stat of the week. July 29th, 1989, Ricky Henderson goes 0 for 0 with 5 stolen bases and 4 runs scored in a game against the Mariners.
Jesus.
Being Ricky?
He had 4 walks, 5 stolen bases, scored all 4 times. Seattle went on to win the game, though, 14-6. The starting pitcher that starting pitcher there had 7 walks in that game in 6 innings. Starting pitcher was a rookie. His career came around okay. A guy named Randy Johnson.
Okay.
Was the pitcher in that game. And you look at the box score, you tell once Randy Johnson went out, all the left-handed hitters went back in. And so that was kind of one of those deals. But Ricky, 0 for 0 with 5 stolen bases, 4 runs scored.
What a game.
That's Randy Johnson.
And that was very common with him. Jeez.
Yes. Randy Johnson was quoted saying after the game, I think Ricky might send me a Christmas card.
Wow.
WNBA, they got about a dozen games off here. They got about 6 weeks. Here's the overall combined standings. They take their 2 conferences, combine them. Top 8 make the playoffs. And there's the Lynx at 500, sitting there, middle of the pack for the playoffs. Los Angeles is on the outside. Chicago's the 8th seed there, so we're sitting 6th, so we're sitting okay. A couple games ahead of Chicago, but that's all right. Our next 3 games are Connecticut, New York, and Chicago. So Chicago on the outside looking in, and if you look back again, there's New York and Connecticut, top teams in the league. So very important games. If you got to beat them in the playoffs, let's play them now in the regular season and see what happens. So good luck to the girls there. They've been turning around this year. They started out at 0-4 or 0-5 or something like that.
Yeah, very streaky.
Now, they started out real bad, but I think out of their first 4 games they lost was a combined like 9 points or something goofy like that. So they've been in all their games. They're a tough team.
Now, you guys might like this comment. I overheard talking with some friends this weekend about sports, saying in the WNBA would there be any truth to teams that are really not doing well, cashing it in to get the Caitlin Clark jackpot next year? Would she be the number 1 overall pick?
I don't know if the WNBA. I don't think they do a lottery. I think it is truly the last pick or last record.
So are there some teams that are down there that may not? I don't want to say give up and just tank, but because that Caitlin Clark was more likely going to be the number 1 overall pick, maybe they do that.
I think if they did
I wanted to get your guys' thoughts.
If they tank again, I don't want to jinx anything here, but you pray to God she doesn't go and get like a Paige Becker's injury early in the year and takes a year and a half to come back or something like that. Not saying there was another good players out there to draft number 1, but Caitlin is such a next level player. So her staying healthy and everything else, sure, that she'd be the one to get. But that's hoping she stays healthy the whole way through. And like we found out this year, though, too. Yeah. The finals were April, and their season started about a month or so later. So that's a long run. Now, a lot of these girls are playing overseas in the offseason, too, so they're used to playing year-round. But WNBA is at another level compared to fun tournaments overseas.
Yeah. Yep, correct. Okay, good. Thanks.
More women's sports stuff. There's a shirt you can get from Riley Gaines' website.
Okay.
Katie Ledecky,
nice.
Female swimmer. She just broke Michael Phelps' record for most world titles with her 16th gold medal.
Jesus.
So all of Phelps' records we thought were untouchable are starting to break. And there's Miss Regan Smith from Lakeville, Lakeville's very own.
Wow.
There's a Foss Swimming Center right there. She's coming back. She kind of broke some records and was kind of in a lull for a little bit. She's now in Arizona working with Michael Phelps' former coach. She's 21. She's back at going for the World Championships in Japan. She recently won the 100, the 200 meter backstroke, as well as the 200 butterfly at Nationals in Indianapolis recently. So she's one of a handful of swimmers who are going to compete in 3 events. So remember that name too, Miss Smith, here when the Olympics come up soon too. Local girl.
Wow.
One NFL note. Well, 2. One, I don't have a picture. I'll tell you about this now. There is some scuttlebutt going around with the Washington football team, the Commanders, being sold. They might change the name, and there's a lot of protests and petitions going around to get the Redskins name back. So see how that goes. That's the rumor and innuendo, as they say. But they might change the name again from Commanders to something else under this new regime. We'll see.
I'm just glad to see Snyder out of there.
Yes.
I mean,
and here we go. The least intelligent fan base, according to gambling.com. And there's the Giants at number 1. The Vikes at 2. The Jets at 3. Bears 4. Titans 5. Cardinals, Ravens, Steelers, Seahawks, and Patriots. It's a gambling site,
awesome.
so
how'd they
not
come
really
up with
tell
this?
You. But the Ravens and Steelers, that kind of surprises me right there. The Ravens and Steelers.
That is
because they're
very
such passionate fans. I think they know a little bit about the game instead of just going, "Ugh, my team win." Ugh, kind of like Vikings fans. They're just not real bright.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I'm a Ravens fan as well. Jeez, I got 2 teams on this.
Yeah, you're double dipping.
But I must be just dumb as hell.
Well, I think the reason they take a lot of this, I think a lot of this has come from my point, and I know some Vikings fans that were this way, that so many years ago every night they'd say the prayers and wish death to Brett Favre, but then he comes here and he's the greatest quarterback in the world, So I think it's stuff like that. The Vikings fans are such homers. I think that's probably what they're talking about. These teams are such homers that if it's not their team, if you don't play on their team, you suck. So if you go off that, okay, maybe this list is right. I don't know. And my homework assignment is, if you're a football fan, just learn the damn game. See, their team isn't on this list. That's all I got to say on that one. That's, as Forrest Gump would say, that's all I got to say about that. That's all I got. Like I said, a lot of the trades have been going on in baseball. We've been putting those up on social media, so you'll see them up there. Follow those. Are happening fast and furious. You can catch a lot of them on your favorite Alphabet Network guys on Twitter. I'm still going to call it Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. Yeah, I'm not going to. Because it sounds like you're on a porn site. I was on X today.
I think we could do that.
And you get the little notifications on your phone. If you got 3 X's up there, XXX. I'll say, just don't like it. I'm not a fan. Yes.
So, very fun time of the season, for sports, amateur baseball. The over 35 men's league, Minnesota, the Federal League concluded its regular season. The brackets have been posted for the state tournament that begins this weekend. Town ball, we talked about already, starts the sectionals in earnest here this weekend. The Saints announced that they're going to retire Darryl Strawberry's jersey. Now, why are they doing this? I know that he played a total of, I think, 25 games with the club ever. So is this a promotional stunt? Is some kind of a deal like that? I know he did well. He did great, but he only played less than a month for the Saints.
He stayed off the weed for 25 days, and they're going to retire his jersey for it. So
maybe that's it.
Hey, 25 days clean, retire your jersey.
We've got trade deadline coming up. Actually, it's tonight, I think, is the deadline. But the St. Paul Saints released Ryan Lamar just the other day. Not a big name. I've covered him in the past.
Any relation to Headley
segments
Lamar?
For the Twins and the Saints. Yeah, we've covered them before. As far as my take is the fact that the Twins and the Saints have so many influx of outfielders, so much talent, if you will, but there's so many, they got to cut bait. So Lamar, a former second-round pick by the Cincinnati Reds in 2010, the Twins picked him up in a minor league. Maybe they think they can move him up, ended up hitting 204. He's gone. Now there's trade talks of maybe Trevor Larnach getting traded, but the Twins have a lot of outfielders the Saints have a lot of outfielders. And so this was bound to happen here. I've done a show on it before, is how much depth that there is. Now, the season here is halfway done. We're on the second half of the season. We're going to be starting to get, speaking of outfielders, guys from AA or single A promoted. There might be more guys coming up, to AAA. We're going to start seeing the promotions come up. The Twins have got a bunch of these guys that are kind of hanging around. Some guys doing well. Kyle Garlick has 11 homers for the Saints this year, but there's nowhere to put him. I've been reading box scores, Andy, that Garlick the last 2 weeks have been playing first base for the Saints. They have no room to play these guys. There's too many. So Ryan Lamar had to go. A good guy back in the day, but just didn't make it here. We'll see what happens here with the Twins coming up. Luckily enough, there's no injury bugs going on.
I've seen Larnach's name on the Mets website a couple times. They're interested in him.
Now Larnach's hitting 216, I think.
He's right in that Pete Alonso category. He'd fit right in.
So it's not good, but there's teams that could use outfielders, and the Twins are sitting on quite a few outfielders.
I always like to see that guy who's at 216. You trade him just to make financial room for somebody. Who was it with the Braves a couple years ago, a former Twin that just blew up in the playoffs? Rosario. This also takes off. Not that he was a 214 hitter, but he was average of the road. New faces, new jerseys. He goes off. So not saying Larnach's good for that, but
we'll see. We'll see. The other thing was starting pitching. I did a bonus episode before the season started about how many Twins and even AAA that are pro athlete big leaguers that are sitting down in AAA because the Twins don't have room for starting pitching. And the good thing is we're not facing any injuries. No one's getting hurt, and no one's really sucking it up. Now you get Dallas Keuchel, who's making a run for the Saints, and what do? You bring him up? I don't know. Kenta Maeda's name has been mentioned in trade. Sonny Gray isn't going to be here after the season's over, and is already butting heads with Rocco Baldelli. Who knows? But there is a lot of starting pitchers. Louis Varland's
done for Dallas yet too, because he's been doing well in the minors. He's a minor league player. You're throwing in on a trade.
So who knows? We might see some of those names come up. The other thing I thought with Dallas, would he be someone that in the postseason you'd bring in to get a 3-man rotation, a guy with veteran leadership, a guy who's
they don't do 3-man rotations in the playoffs anymore. It's at least a 5 still. Because of the trap, you get the extra rounds of playoffs and everything else.
The other thing that the Twins did was a reliever trade this past week with the Jorge Lopez going to Miami, and the Twins getting another average righty. But the thing that I saw with him, he's been around for 10 years. He's been to 2 World Series. He's been to 4 NLCS playoffs and has posted a lot of big league postseason experience. And I think the Twins need someone like that in the bullpen because they're so young. They've got no veteran arm. They get no veteran guy that they can talk about and talk to in the bullpen during these long games and kind of pick their brain at some of this. And I think that's maybe what they did. That's just me talking, but I think they wanted some veteran leadership.
Agreed.
But that's all I've got for sports today. We didn't have a trivia question, but
we talked about some external things going on right now, going on with the PJ Fleck stuff, trade stuff.
We may have 2 next week. We may have 2 next week. I did have the only thing I could think of for a trivia question. My wife was reading some sports notes to me this afternoon, and I should have used actually this. What was the first base that Lou Gehrig ever stole? It was home. You're right. I never knew that. Did you know that, Jeremy?
Well, when you throw a question out, that's got to be home. Base, when you throw that question out, got to be home.
It never was second or third. He stole home as his first base. So maybe we call that the trivia question. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's all I got, sir.
Well, Jeremy, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for helping us out here today.
Absolutely. Look forward to that Big Ten roundtable.
That's coming up.
We're going to have a Big Ten. Jeremy will be on this Big Ten roundtable here in a couple weeks. We're going to do a preview, 2-episode preview of Big Ten football, an East section and then a West section. And, both the Gophers have the schedule this year where they've got some big teams. They start off against Nebraska. They don't have the old coach. You don't have the coach there anymore for Nebraska. They hated, what's his name?
Oh, Scott Frost.
Yeah, Frost ain't there. It's still Nebraska.
Scott Frost
It's
is
still
strong.
Nebraska, so that's 1-0.
So
Yeah, he's kicking it down in Scottsdale.
and they might be better this year, but
Where's he at?
Oh, he's kicking it down
Okay.
in Scottsdale on a golf course, drinking probably.
Yeah, that's probably actually. He'll be a special teams coach in
Scott Frost
the XFL next year or something.
could be. You never know. But we'll follow the Gophers. We'll follow the PJ Fleck. Thanks for your insight there, Andy. Anything from you?
I'm just probably next week coming up. We'll probably do more town ball playoffs coming up. See how they're all fitting in and falling into place, stuff like that. Baseball trades will all be done. See who went where and why, and who the winners and losers were, as they say, on those trades. The Mets so far doing well.
Sure.
Did well against the Nationals. The records are doing good, so my health and safety is okay still right now this month. So I'm doing good. They got Kansas City right now, so there's 2 out of 3 right there, I hope. Knock on wood. Yeah, well,
That's what the Twins thought. Got swept. Are you kidding me? That's almost comical.
Right.
It's almost comical. Now, I'm going to be working, Andy. I'm going to be working on a possible bonus episode here this week on the Federal League brackets, over 35 baseball, and I'll push that out here this weekend before the games start. We'll get that. That was kind of a favorite
anybody
last
from
year.
the
We'll do another
that
one.
we
of
may
those.
know for that maybe in their lower 30s that plays in Watertown that you might be scouting for in a couple years. Maybe start talking to him, see what he says. Left-hand hitter, leadoff hitter might be good to start on your team.
Yeah.
Cheetah, just saying.
Mr. Patrick.
He
could be rookie of the year.
Schmoozing up to him, 35. Send him a Christmas card every now and then now for a couple of years.
It's fun. They this time of year, those guys, the active recruiting for this does take place. There's people really tugging the ears of these guys when they turn that age to make them convert over. They may take a couple years, but if they convert over and play, they're very good right off the bat, and they really enjoy it. So it's going to be fun stuff.
See ya.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.